Our next guest says that with depleted oil reserves and vulnerable global shipping routes, the energy market is walking a tightrope with almost no room for error. Joining us right now is Mike Sommers. He is the president and CEO of the American Petroleum Institute. And Mike, welcome. It's good to see you this morning.
Great to be back.
We had a guest yesterday who suggested that the markets might be oversupplied at this point. That's the reason that we saw such a huge drop in oil prices as soon as the United States stopped its 13-day constant bombings in Iran. I think you feel a little differently about that.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've seen massive swings in the oil markets just in the last few weeks. The Wall Street Journal just a couple of weeks ago had a front page story saying that we were going to be dealing with an oil glut. But at the same time, we've seen this swing from about $70 a barrel to over $100 a barrel in the last 3 weeks alone. And that is because we're still dealing with a very vulnerable market.
You're talking about Brent.
Yes.
Brent went
so you're seeing a very significant issue continue in the Strait of Hormuz. We're not seeing near the flows that we need to see. We estimate at the American Petroleum Institute that you'd need to get those flows up to about 11 million barrels a day to get back to where we were prior to this conflict.
You're talking about being able to refill the strategic reserves that have been drawn down around the globe?
The SPR is currently down to the lowest level it's been since 1983. Other reserves around the world are in the same place. So we are going to need to refill those at some point. This is, of course, not the time, but we should be worried that the shock absorbers that are built into the system are no longer there. And any significant disruption that we see post this current conflict could lead to significantly higher prices.
We've released some because of this, but we did release a lot. You tell me why during the Biden administration. What did we get down to?
Prices that they...
No, the midterms were coming up, and they had high gas prices.
They said high gas prices.
Oh, I know, but that was not what it was for. And, you know, we have Amos Hochstein on, never cops to that. But what did we get to under Biden, and where are we now? Are we at 40% full?
They were drawing down at significant levels, particularly because they were concerned about the political situation going into a midterm election. We've often said that the P in this SPR should not be political. It's petroleum. We need to make sure that we have the stocks when we need them, and we need them now. And because they drew it down,
did we draw down? We got down to what? And then because we have used a lot more,
we're at about 300 million barrels now, which is not where it should be. It should be much closer to about 800 million barrels.
800. So what did they get it down?
They got it down to about 500 million barrels.
And then another 200.
That's
so
exactly
they did 300
right.
And then for the war too.
But you're continuing to see commercial inventories are down. We need to be able to refill the SPR when prices get lower.
Right.
But at the same time, the most important thing that we can do is get these routes going again. We should be very concerned about what's going on in the Red Sea. That's about 2.5 million barrels a day that are getting through the Red Sea. And you're having to reroute these products, particularly through the Suez Canal.
Are you arguing that the president should end the war and forget about the nukes?
Absolutely not. The truth of the matter is that we're dealing with a situation now where we can't end up with Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz. So we have to get to a situation where those flows continue. And I think by and large, the president is right. We couldn't allow a nuclear-armed Iran to continue in the Middle East.
You say you can't have Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz. What about if it was Iran and Oman and they set up a situation that raised small tolls? Would you be okay with that or not?
I think it is unacceptable for the Strait of Hormuz continue to be this choke point. It's one of the reasons why API has put together a framework for lawmakers to start thinking about how do we avoid the Strait going forward. Fortunately, some of that is already being implemented. You're already seeing the pipelines that are being developed in the Middle East to avoid the Strait of Hormuz. You're also seeing significant new resources come onto line. Venezuela is a great example of that. We're now importing 600,000 barrels a day from Venezuela when it was only 100,000 barrels before the removal of Maduro. That's a potential new market for us. You see new oil fields coming on in Guyana. You have Exxon and Chevron, of course, who are huge investors there. You're seeing potential in the offshore in Brazil and in Argentina as well. We should be boosting those kinds of resources if we're going to be able to avoid the Strait over time.
Have you been surprised to see WTI come back down $81 this morning? It was $80 before.
I think it's a little bit surprising given the continued choke points that we are seeing. Remember that Middle Eastern exports right now are down 41%. That is unprecedented. And I think if you told anyone that the Strait of Hormuz was going to be essentially closed for 5 months, they never would have predicted these kinds of prices.
Do you think the oil market is getting it wrong, or do you think the situation in China, where they have cut down their purchases of oil, how do you explain
I think there are a couple of big things going on here. First of all, China has reduced their imports by about 5 million barrels a day. That has been an important component of this. The Chinese market may be a lot weaker than anybody realizes right now as well. But exactly. The real thing I think we have to remember, though, is it is because of American production that we're not dealing with this incredible surge of prices that you would have seen just 20 short years ago.
And that's because the spigots are open right now.
That's exactly right. We're producing about 14 million barrels of oil every day.
And windfall profit, any of these stupid ideas, that party's out of power at this point.
But we are already starting to see...
Might not be that way for much longer.
You're starting to see calls for windfall profits from some of the same old characters that have done it in the past.
But also over-regulation of the drilling and not opening up, federal land. All the things that we know who wants to do that. That's not happening right now. That's one of the reasons that we're at $80.
Well, this is one of the things that we do have to give President Trump a lot of credit for. They came in with a focus on American production, and we've seen production respond. About 500,000 more barrels a day since President Trump took office. That has a lot to do with the certainty that this industry has seen.
It also has to do with the idea that oil prices are higher. We're not trading at $60 anymore. At $80, you're going to see increased production.
We were when he came in. That's not why.
The policies that they put in place, particularly in the One Big Beautiful Bill, which guaranteed lease sales in the Gulf of America and on federal lands, have played a significant role in this. We're also seeing a reopening of Alaska for the first time in 40 years. This is a really exciting time for the oil business, particularly for American production. The Permian Basin will continue to be the engine for American growth. What we need now from Congress is a comprehensive permitting bill that actually allows us to move these products from where they are to where they need to be.
It's just too bad we don't have like a closed little economy here where we use our own oil, but we don't, because if we can get 100 somewhere else for it, it's fungible. It's set globally, but we are well supplied in this country because of these things.
Well, one of the things we have to remember is that we haven't built a refinery in this country since 1977. So our refinery kit, about 40% of it, is really tooled to produce that heavier crude.
Why not put the refineries next to the data centers? That way, put everything in your backyard, wherever.
Somebody else's backyard.
There are some people that would be okay.
This is why we need Congress to focus on permitting reform, so that we can build more, so that we can produce more and refine more here in the United States.